the
That
other
is
section and not
finishing
to
the
you?
paper with all the rest
Okay,
of the
so
boxes.
if you can, I
And
see
so I
that
want to
Val
see
has
people
printed.
working. I see
Anybody who
Nearest
has,
working,
you know, the printer
and I don't see
available, go
anybody
ahead and
else
print it
working
now.
except Nearest.
If you don't have, but looking at this, if this were in her final portfolio, I would say the photograph is a little disappointing because it's so dark and it really doesn't show show things to the best advantage, and it's a good drawing. So Smiro, when I did this, what changes did I make to her image?
Wait, hold up a second. They look, it looks more darker than the other one.
What looks more darker?
The blue.
The blue lines look darker. Okay, what else?
I honestly don't see a difference.
Okay, can you see that this image is lighter and brighter and this one is darker?
Yes.
Yeah, for all of you, when you're submitting your JPEGs, when the image is dark like this, it doesn't show the lines to best advantage. So Osmiro told us that here the lines look darker, but you know, they're probably the same darkness right here, but they're not going to show up as well because the photograph is so dark in itself. And I made some edits here. These are very quick edits that you don't need any kind of app to be able to do this. I brightened the exposure and I put the tint a little bit to the blue and red away from the yellow and green, brightened it up, lightened the exposure just a little bit. And I also increased the sharpness and the definition a little bit. And these are things that can be done in less than 60 seconds on your iPhone. So it shouldn't be hard to do, and see how much better it shows up. The paper is white after all, and if we look at this, we wouldn't even get a hint that the paper is white. But she did a beautiful job with the construction. Now we're going to continue with the 2-point perspective. So I want you to take out the drawing that we began last time on the 14 by 17 paper. I think we just did one box in the 14-17 paper. And we're going to practice this a little bit, because even though you made one of them and I've showed it to you in drawing, there's really no substitute for practice. And of course we can't do all of these things over and over, but this is what we're going to do now. We're going to add some more boxes. We just made one box to start with, and that's all I asked you to submit because we were close on time. We're going to add some more boxes. So you want to get out your drawing board, your 14-17 paper, your T-square, and your triangle. And I haven't forgotten about the attendance people. For everyone who is here, you know, I checked you off from my list of participants. So don't be concerned that you're not getting credit for attendance. I'll try to go over it in a bit. So this is what we're getting into. And I'm going to go to the other camera right now so that you will be able to see kind of how I place the boxes and remember how to use the T-square and triangle. What we have here, we have a kind of sample of how the boxes will be placed on the paper. And again, with these, no particular measurement is necessary, so you don't need to know anything in exact inches. you'll just approximate the appearance of the boxes. And I'll go into this other camera and start drawing those one by one. So give you a couple minutes now, get out your drawing from last time, and we will add some more boxes. Okay, so now when you put your paper down on the drawing board, you want to remember that for all the right-handed people, you want to put your drawing on the far left-hand side of your drawing board. For
Professor,
left-handed people, you're going to put your paper on the far right-hand side.
Professor,
Yeah,
quick question. So we're doing this on the charcoal paper, right?
no, you're doing this on the drawing paper that we began last time. We're not quite up to the charcoal paper
Okay.
yet. You know, I'd like you to be prepared. Everything really should be in your kit, of course, but for people who didn't get it with the kit.
So we're going back to the 2-point perspective, right?
Yeah,
We're gonna
last
elaborate
time,
on that.
yes, we're going to elaborate on the 2-point perspective. That's it exactly. So last time we just drew one box and I asked you to submit one box.
Yeah, I have that right here.
Yeah, right. And Karen went ahead and did all the rest of the boxes ahead of time. So she got some extra credit. But now for those of you who didn't get that far, we're going to review some of these steps. So I'm going to move into the other camera. And it's a little more tricky for me to know exactly what's going on. So if you can't see or you can't hear, you want to let me know. Just a review, you all did this last time. You always start with the edge that's closest to you, and we call it the AB line, just so it's easier to talk about. We start with this vertical, we go back to the RVP, and then we go back to the LVP, right? We choose a depth for the box, that's kind of your choice, and then we go up to the top vanishing line, choose a depth here, and go up to the top vanishing line. Then we have to find the back corner. So we go here to the LVP and here to the RVP. And then when we have that back point, the GH, we can come down and connect it to the bottom vanishing lines. So we did all this last week, and I'm going to repeat it in some of the boxes that we drew, but that's a little quick reminder. And almost everybody seemed to have no trouble with that, which I usually find in perspective, although it might not seem an exciting thing to draw. It's come about a lot in the past that many students get their best grades in perspective. Doesn't require any particular talent. You don't need to be an experienced artist. You don't need to be creative or, think of something interesting or different. You just follow the steps. Good for visualization, which is good for any liberal arts student or a science student. Here, my texture examples are on the table here. I don't know how many we'll do exactly, but we'll see what can be done. If we don't do them today, we'll do them next time.
Professor,
Mhm.
when you get the chance, can you see my message?
A message in the chat?
Yeah, that I sent you.
Okay. Okay. So just send me again through course messages, your chat message, put it up in course messages so that I will have it. And if anybody ever needs an excuse for an absence, if you have a note of any kind that's verifiable, you can get an excuse. I don't have time to type anything here.
I sent it to you already, and I sent it to you
Oh.
multiple times actually.
Okay, okay, all right, that's great then, thank you. Okay, so this drawing is also one that's just partially completed, but instead of having just one box, it has two boxes and something a little special added in. So what I'll do here is I will go over all of those steps for you one at a time. So right now we're going to draw the box that's over here. And I think really all of you have the process down pretty well. So in this case, the drawing is already here, but I'm going to go over it for you step by step. So this is the drawing right now. You can also see an example in the other camera. So again, I'm a right-handed person, so the T-square is on the left. I need a few more pieces of tape here so the drawing doesn't rumple up. And a good pencil here is your HB pencil, nicely sharpened. I'm going to use a darker pencil because I wanted to show up at least somewhat on the camera. But you're going to start with an AB line. And this time, instead of all being below eye level, we're going to cross the horizon, sort of like the example with the cylinders we looked at before. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to start with an AB line. That's the vertical edge that's closest to you. And here, we're going to work on the left-hand side of the paper. Exactly where this structure is going to be is up to you. You don't need measurements in inches per se. So you can decide how big or small you want to make your piece, but you don't want to make it too gigantic or too tiny. Okay, so I'm starting here with the AB line. And you want to use your triangle to make that line. So you're going to hold the T-square snug on the side. All right, so there's the AB line. And then once we have that line, we can make our vanishing lines, which we've been making in red. We have an RVP, which you should already have on the right side, and also an LVP on the left side. Those should already be there. And I think also I will redraw the horizon. Remember that all my lines are darker than you need to make yours. Yours just need to be dark enough to show up in your JPEG photo. Okay. But remember, that's our horizon line. And now we will make the vanishing lines from A and B. So we're going to call this one at the top. This is point A, and this is point B. And so from those, we'll use our red pencil. We'll go back to the RVP and the LVP. Remember, my lines are darker. Your vanishing lines shouldn't be so heavy that they sort of compete with the box or whatever it is. You know, the vanishing lines are really like guidelines, but I'm drawing them heavier so that you can see them. And now I'm going from B to the LVP.
So question, Professor, we have a third point, right? For like the roof to go to?
Oh, no, don't worry about the roof yet. You're going to just go with me a step at a time. You don't.
Yeah, because I can't really see what you're doing because it looks very small.
Well, I'm narrating it for you, and you have the example in front of you on the webcam, so it should make some sense. We
Yeah.
did this last time. A vertical line, AB, and we have lines that go from AB to the LVP and the RVP. I might be able to bring the camera down a little bit. We'll see if that might help. But since we've done this before and you have the example right there in front of you, you should kind of be able to follow, you know, what I'm talking about. So that should make it a little clearer, right? It's further down. I can always also hold it up for you kind of at intervals. So all we have here is the AB line and the two sets of vanishing lines. That's all we have so far. All right. And now, since we have those two sets of vanishing lines, you need to choose a depth for your box. That is how long or short it's going to be. And I chose a depth here, you know, partway along the bottom vanishing line. I just picked a vanishing line. I just picked a point. You can choose your too close to AB or too close to the RVP. right? And then on the other side of the vanishing lines, I'm also going to choose a depth for the box, but this one, not so much. This one, not so much. So I have A and B, and now I have C over here. You choose where you want to make C. Just make it somewhat like my drawing. Somewhat like my drawing. And then we're going to go with your triangle and your T-square straight up from C until you hit the A vanishing line. And when we hit the A vanishing line, we have a new point. And that point is D. So now we have A, B, C, D. Then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. We picked a point here kind of randomly, but since you're becoming more visually aware, you want to make it similar to the size and shape that I have here. Just like when you're sketching, you want to, make it somewhat like the thing that you're sketching. So now we're going to go up again to the top vanishing line. So now we have a new point called F. And here, I think I'm actually going to make a little change. I'm going to use my Prismacolor pencil here because I think it will show up more. But I don't like to have you use the Prismacolors because you can't make any changes unless you're a perspective whiz. You might find that you need to rub something out and make changes, which is okay. So I'm going to pick another color. You probably don't have with you, and that's okay. But because my horizon, my vanishing lines are so dark, I want this to show up. So what will I choose here? I'm going to try this magenta color. And if you can't see it, let me know, and I'll try and choose another color. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over the sides of the box with a new color. And this time, we're not going to draw the inside of the box. We're not going to draw the inside of it. We're just going to draw these two sides that we can actually see. And you can go over your box lines with your red pencil, with your blue pencil. If you're very confident and you're sure that you're a perspective whiz, you can choose another color that you might have at home. All right, so here we're just going to look at two sides of the box. We're not going to look at the inside because we are adding on something that's a little different here. So what you can see with this drawing is that there's a little roof on the box. A little bit of a roof on the box. And the roof has a peak. The roof has a peak. So we want the peak of the roof to be centered over this side of the box. We want the peak of the roof to be centered. So we need to go straight up. we can't go straight down because we don't exactly know where the roof is going to be yet. Now, to make sure it's in the middle, we can find the middle of this rectangle. And you know, we've always done that before by crisscrossing diagonals. So even when the box is turned away from you, you can still use that same method of the crisscrossing diagonals. So we can go from F to B, and you don't have to make the crisscrosses all the way in the box, just a little bit in the middle. We did that when we constructed the cube. So I'm using crisscrossing diagonals to find the middle. Found the middle of the box, this short side of the box in perspective with the crisscrossing diagonals. And then to find out where we can put the peak of the roof, we're going to go straight up, straight up. All right, now, where is the top of the roof going to be? This is how we find out. As someone noticed, we have a new vanishing point here, a new vanishing point, and it's called the vertical vanishing point. It's not that tricky. It's directly right above your left vanishing point. So all you need to do here is make a vertical line straight above your left vanishing point, almost to the top of the paper. And we're choosing that point almost to the top of the paper, right above the left vanishing point. And we will call it the VVP, vertical vanishing point L, because it's on the left side. So now we're going to go from point A up to the vertical vanishing point, and that will show us where the peak of the roof is going to be. Now, you could make a totally different drawing. You could put your VVP further down if you wanted to design it that way, or you could put it further up off the paper. It's not a fixed place. Okay, so I have the VVP and I have point A. So what you're going to do here is you're going to go from point A all the way to the VVP. And since this is a vanishing line, you can make it in red. Again, not too heavy, but I will make it much heavier so that hopefully, you can see somewhat. You should be able to follow from my directions here because you have the example in front of you. So I made a line from A all the way back to the VVP. And what happened? Well, what happened is that vanishing line, it crossed over this vertical line. Remember, we found the middle line for this side of the house? It crossed over it. And where that crossover happens, that is the peak of your roof. And so I call it MP because it's in the middle of that side of the house and it's the peak of the roof. So where this vanishing line intersects with the middle vertical, that becomes the peak of the roof. Peak of the roof is right there. And then I'll see if the orange will show up here. Then we can start to finish off the roof. I'll go from the peak that we just made over to point F. And then I'll go over the other side from A to the peak. Okay, so this will be the side of that roof. Then we need to know where to find the back peak of the roof, the back peak. So to start this, you're going to begin at the peak of the roof, right here, and you're going to make a vanishing line all the way back to the RVP, all the way back to the RVP. Again, you make it in red because it's a vanishing line. And what we know here is that this ridge, the ridge of the roof, is parallel to the house, parallel to this side of the house. And all lines that are parallel go back to the same VP. So that's why it's going back here. But now we need to find that back point. And we're going to have a peak here in the front. We're also going to have a peak of the roof back here. But those two peaks are also parallel to each other. So we're going to have a new vanishing line, and that goes from point D back to the LVP. From point D back to the LVP. That's a new vanishing line. Okay, so where the MP to R crosses the D to the vertical, we have a new point. It's an intersection. And I'll call it P2 because it's the second peak of the house. And it's also a midpoint. Even though we didn't draw the inside of the house, we can be confident that this peak right here is going to be right above the middle, just like this one. Right, and so I'm going to finish the roof here with another color. You can use blue, which we've done in the past with your color erase pencil, or if you feel confident, you can use another color pencil that you might have at hand. Don't use any markers, though, it doesn't work very well here. So now I'm just going over the roof to emphasize it. So here we have a roof, and we have the box in 2-point perspective. So what it is, it's like a little plan for a small house in perspective.
How many different colors should we use?
What color? Well, if you just have your color erase pencils, use blue. Don't use red because it'll get mixed up with the vanishing lines. If you have other color pencils at home and you feel pretty confident with your drawing, you can pick another color. So I'm going to show this to you here. And then I'm also going to bring it up to the other webcam, and we'll have a new break. Another break. So this is what it looks like here. And I'll bring it up so that you can see it. Right, so you do see the same thing right here. This is exactly what we just drew, step by step. And I will show you the one that we just drew. Well, I just drew. Hopefully you drew along with me. Okay, so this is what we just drew. Box in 2-point. It crosses the horizon, and then we made a peak at either end. Okay. All right, so now you should have 2 boxes at least on your paper. One we did last week, one we did just now. So your paper should look something like this, a box and a simple little house. Okay, so now it's 10:25, and we'll take another 10-minute break, and then we'll come back here and we'll draw another box. Any questions? Okay, we're going to continue here with our texture and with our 2-point perspective. But right now, I want to show you a student example of 2-point perspective and a house. Okay. So I did submit attendance for today, and I'm just going to go over names. I want to see you on camera. Just give a wave, say here, Abby. Abby,
I'm here, Professor.
okay. Catherine,
We're
Yes.
here.
yeah, I see you. James. Dana. Aiden.
Here.
Yeah, I see you, Aiden. Okay. Sam, not here. Val.
Here.
Where is Val? Oh, okay. I see you. Want to see your work surface, Val. Julie is here. Where is Julie? There she is. Okay, good. Ismet is here. I see you. Will. Yeah, great. Thank you. Maria Cristina, not here. Muris, I see you. Victoria. Osmiro. Okay, I see you. Yeah, okay. Karen. Noman. Yeah, gotcha. Okay, Esmeralda.
Here.
Yep, I see you. Oh, you sound so sad. Do you not like 2-point perspective very much?
It's all right.
It's all right, kind of boring. Really, it's a good understanding to sketching real things that you see, even if you want to make up things out of your imagination. Okay, Natalie had to leave. Cynthia is here. Alyssa, not here. Okay. All right, so that's our attendance record for right now. And we're going to continue to work on this drawing. We're going to add some texture, and then you're going to make your own building. But before we go back to actually drawing, I'm going to show you a student example. I have a lot of these, but I'm only going to show you one. Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So usually my 2-point perspective in drawing one, usually after they know how to make the boxes, they make more and more boxes and turn them into what we call a cityscape, or a view of a city with all these boxes. But I think because the online process is a little more time consuming, actually maybe a lot more, we'll make it simpler. And what you're going to do for homework is you're going to create one building out of your imagination, but using the technique of 2-point perspective. And what you want to do is have some texture in your drawing. So we'll continue to work on that. But for instance, here, this is a house that a person made up.
I
Same.
made that drawing a couple years ago.
What?
I did a drawing just like that like a couple years ago.
Oh, you want to show it to us?
I'll bring it next class. I'll look for it. But yeah, I did something exactly like that. I had to
In
name
what-
the street, the buildings. I made per people on it and the light
Okay.
poles.
In what class did you make that?
It was AP art.
Oh, in high school, AP art?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember. It was
So
like a throwback.
I think that we're not going to make the whole cityscape here, but I'm going to ask you to make one building that will take up most of the paper. And you're going to use your imagination to add doors and windows and texture. You might add a garage next to it, or you might add a wing onto the house.
Okay.
You could draw like the neighbor's house, maybe in the distance, but we won't draw the whole city. So we'll take our drawing now as far as we can, but just want to point out and remind you that everything that lines up next to the sides of the house, for instance, these steps, or in this case, a window, it's not next to it, it's right on, has to go back to the same vanishing point because they're parallel lines. This line, this line, this line, this line, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. In reality, they're all parallel lines. If we were facing this side of the house with the door, we would see all those lines right on top of each other like parallel lines. The house is turned a little bit, but the lines or the edges that I just pointed out, they're still parallel. So they're all going back to the right vanishing point. And here the student made a window. They also made a little circular window. And that is also, because it's parallel to this side, is also going to go back to the left vanishing point. So you're going to do most of your building at home. We'll leave a little bit of space around the building. And next week, when we come into class, we will finish the building by adding some trees and maybe a street. Okay, so don't fill your paper to the tippy top and the tippy bottom. We just leave a little space around the bottom or the back, and we're going to try to put it in some kind of a landscape. Okay, any questions? All right, we're going to continue now with the drawing, and we're also going to use some of the textures that you made, but we're not quite at that point yet. Okay, everybody with me so far? I need to see your T-square, your triangle, your workspace. T-square and triangle at work. Val, very good. Osmiro, your T-square and triangle. Ismet, okay. Abby, this looks good. Remember, if you're right-handed, where do you put your paper on the drawing board? Catherine?
On the left side.
Exactly. And anybody here left-handed? Osmiro, okay, so where do you put your paper on the drawing board?
Right?
On the right-hand side, good. Okay, so everybody understands that?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, so we'll make a few more boxes here. And then we'll try to add some textures to the boxes. So I won't have you do these for homework because I think we need to go through it a little bit. But when you come back next time, we will add some streets, maybe a few trees to your house, something like that. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go back to the drawing board, as they say, and you can draw along with me. If you are very quick and you totally, get this, you can work ahead of me and you can add some more boxes. What we're going to do now is we're going to add a box to a box, and we're going to put a box up in the air. We're going to put a box on the horizon line. That will be the next thing to do. And I'm going to take you through it step by step. But if you totally get it, you can work ahead. it's all right to work ahead. Yeah, it's a little more tricky to see what's happening in the other camera. So if you can't see or hear, let me know. Sharpening my pencils just a little bit with a little red pencil sharpener. I also have an electric pencil sharpener. I have a couple of them actually. And if you are an art major or you just really love drawing, I would strongly recommend getting one if you don't have it already. I'm going to sharpen the red and blue pencils just a little bit here. Okay, so we're going to continue now, and this time we're going to make a box that sits directly on the horizon. In other words, if you were kind of very far away from that box, and the bottom of it were at your eye level, you wouldn't see any of the bottom angles. If something is exactly at your eye level, it's going to look like a straight line. So we'll make one of those now. You see a sketch, you see a gesture sketch in the other camera, I think. So to do this, I'm going to create an AB line right here. That's the vertical line. And again, the exact height, the exact size, this is up to you, but you don't want to make it too gigantic, and you don't want to work so that there are buildings or boxes in the very corners of the paper. I've talked a little bit about that. We can't go into it entirely, but you have to take my word for it there. Okay, so here I'm making a new box, and this box is going to start with an AB line. The A is up just about as high as you want to make it, and the B is exactly on the horizon. So this is your AB line. Then after that, we make our vanishing lines. And here, the B vanishing line is exactly on the horizon. So it goes straight across to the RVP, but right on top of the horizon. And then we'll make a line from A to the LVP. And then I need a line from B to the LVP. But again, because B is on the horizon, the line to the LVP will be the same as the horizon line, be right on top of it. And I think what we'll do here is we will we'll make this building a little, or this box a little bit behind the first one that has the roof, or actually it's the second one. So I'm going to make a CD line. I'm going to choose a point for C and D. So I'm going to go to the top vanishing line here, the A vanishing line. And I'm just going to pick a point that I like. No measurements needed. We'll call that point D. And then we're going to go from point D directly down to the horizon line. But my line right now is going to be in back of the little house that I just drew. So it'll be a solid line up to the point where it touches the house. But then where it's behind the house, I'm going to make the dashes or the dots because it's actually a hidden line there. It's behind the house. And here also we have some of this new box is behind the house. So we'll have some more dashes or dots, whatever you want. So here we have one box in back of another box. And then I'll choose a depth for the box on the other side. Oh, we have point C. Point C is here. And we'll choose a depth for the other box. So I will choose something right, maybe about here. And I'll call this point E. And I'll go straight down to the horizon, but I won't cross it because this building has a bottom story that's exactly at our eye level. Okay, so here is the box that I have so far. And we're going to go over the edges of this box. We're not drawing the hidden sides yet. You can use your blue color erase pencil, or if you have other colored pencils, you can use it. The Crayola colored pencils are a little bit like the color erase pencils because they're not so difficult to erase. The Prismacolor pencils are usually very brilliant in color, and very hard to erase. But if you have some Crayola colored pencils, those can be erased to a certain degree. So this time I'm going to make this building with orange lines, just the visible edges that we can see. And the bottom of the box is directly on the horizon line. And part of this box is behind the other box. So it has the dash lines. Then I'll go over the vertical lines. Okay, so here's our orange box so far. We could also make a roof for this one, with the roof on this side. And to find out where to put that roof, we want to get to the center of the rectangle. And even though it's in perspective, we can still use the crisscrossing diagonals. And we will make a vertical line through that middle. Now we need another vertical vanishing point for the roof. So this time we're going to have a vertical vanishing point that is directly above the RVP. And it should be as close to the top of the paper as you can get it. So I'm going to put mine right here near the top. Mine didn't go all the way. It's okay. And it's another vertical vanishing point, but it's on the right-hand side. So then we can finish this peak. We can go from A to the vertical vanishing point that's on this side. Well, I guess this would be in red. The vanishing line in red. And then we can complete the roof because now we have the peak. The peak is right here. It's in the middle. And we can go from that peak to point A. I think I will try to make this roof in magenta. We'll see how that works out. So you can use your blue color ace or another color if you have it. Then we need to go back to the LVP. From this peak, we need to go back this way so we can get the ridge of the roof. My red pencil fell down, so I'll use this red right here. And again, where I hit a building, like I'm kind of running into this box here, I'm not going to make a really heavy vanishing line on top of it, because then, you know, the whole drawing doesn't look so good. Okay. So this is the vanishing line here. We need one more point. So we're going to go from point D over to the right vanishing point. The vertical vanishing point. Now you see this one looks a little different than the one over here. That's because my vertical vanishing point is a little bit lower. And also because more of the building is above my eye level. Remember, my eye level is where the ocean meets the sky. It's here. So if the bottom is at my eye level, it means the top, a lot of it's going to be above my eye level. So I'm not going to get as good a view of the roof as I do with this one. Okay, so this roof I will make magenta. And we have this other peak back here that we just made. So we can call this peak number 2. And even though we didn't draw the inside, we know it's above the middle of the hidden side. So that's an important point. And I'm going to turn this roof into magenta. Okay, so now we have 2 buildings, 2 boxes with peaks. And what we're going to do now, we're going to see if we can add some texture to some of these boxes. And this is what we're going to do. You're going to go back and get your frottage rubbings, which were done on tracing paper. make this one a little bigger. And we're going to see if we can add some texture to a little bit of one of these boxes. Okay, so I think I'm going to put this texture right here. I'm going to put this texture right here on top of this building, this box. So to do this, you're going to take your frottage, you're going to find one that you want to put on a building. And you're going to tape down the frottage. Tape it down like this. Very gently because you're taping it down to your drawing. Then you're going to take any one of your graphite pencils that is pretty sharp. And we're going to make the shape that we think this will be. So here I'm just going to use my triangle. You see, we're going to make a shape. It's the same size as the shape of the building on one side. So what I'm doing now is I'm tracing the shape of one side of the house. You put your frottage down on a box that you would like to have texture. Tape it to your board. And then you're going to make the shape of that side of the house or that box, whichever you choose. Okay, so now you see what I have here. I have this tracing that you made this morning, the frottage, and I made an outline here that's the same as one side of my boxes. Then we're going to cut this out. I'm going to cut this out with my X-Acto knife. And I don't want to do it on the drawing board here, so I'm going to move over a little bit. See, I have a trace. Oh, I didn't spotlight these. You all should have reminded me. Oh, they are spotlighted or they're not? There we go. Okay, so here I have the frottage from this morning. And I made an outline of one side of the box. Now I'm going to go back on my table and I'm going to cut this out, this piece. Again, you want to use your X-Acto knife for this and a metal ruler. Don't use your triangle because it's plastic. It could get nicked or damaged. Don't cut on your desk. Cut on a mat or a piece of cardboard like the back of a sketch pad. So I'm going to take this down to my cardboard so it doesn't slip away from me. Cut this out. Okay, so you see now here, I've cut out a piece of the frottage that's the same size as one of my sides. And here you're going to use a little bit of glue stick. Okay, so hopefully one of these that I have still has glue. And I'm going to glue it right down on top of the box where I decided to put it. And you want to go kind of easy on the glue here. You don't want to overdo it, so I'm going to put this here. You don't have to put glue all over the tracing or all over the drawing, just enough to take care of the edges. Okay, so now I have a texture for one side of my box without having to draw the whole texture by hand. And I'm going to imagine in this setup that we have light coming from this side, the left-hand side. So I'm going to look and see if I see any part of my frottage that looks like it might be lighter. Okay, so now I want to put some also on this side. I want it to be lighter than the other side. But when I look at all this, hey, you know what? I don't have quite enough. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go back to my setup and I'm going to create more frottage with the same pencil, same surface. Taping it down. I'm just going to extend my frottage a little bit. If your frottage covers your whole sheet of tracing paper, that is that quarter sheet, probably won't have to do this, but you might. So I'm just extending my my rubbing here. Okay, so here now, I hope I'll have enough. Of the rubbing to cover the other side of the box. And again, remember, for the rubbings, you can use a colored pencil, graphite pencil, charcoal pencil. Charcoal, you have to be careful not to rub it with your hands. And I'll tell you what to do about that later. But I'm going to see if it will fit. Okay, so now I have a piece. I think this will fit here. So I'm going to tape this down again. And I'm going to outline my shape. Now here, part of my shape is going to be hidden by the first box. So the part that's hidden, I don't want to have any texture on that part. Okay, so now I'm going to cut out this new shape. Take it off my paper. My new shape. I was looking for a fresh blade, but I don't remember where I put them. So you just keep it. Yeah, again, when you cut, I always recommend standing up. Tape down whatever you're cutting so it doesn't slip away from you. Don't use your plastic triangle. It could get damaged. Okay, so now I have another shape, which I've cut out to put on the other side of my box. Now that will go here. And I'm just going to find a piece of scrap paper to use for gluing. Okay, so now I have some texture for the other side of the box. And before we stop, I'm going to show you how we could try and make a door and a step. And then this will be your classwork for today. For homework, you're going to make your own building with different additions to it. Could be a neighbor's house, could be a dog house, could be a garage, and try to add some details. Try to get some of the charcoal off my fingers. Actually, it's just graphite. And like I say, if you're a person who feels really comfortable with this, you know, you've done it at AP Art or whatever, you can continue to work ahead of me, put a box up in the sky. Maybe it's a drone. Add some more boxes. I think right now we're going to see if we can make a door. So we want to make a door in the middle of this side of the house. So again, we're going to make that X. In the middle. So here I started on either side of the X and I made a vertical line that's going to be one side of the door. It's a kind of wide door. And then on the other side of the X, I made the other side. And there is a way to make these sides exactly the same in reality and make that mesh in perspective. But I think for this class, we're not going to try to go into that. So just to know that the side of the door is further away will be not as wide as the side that's close to us. So I put another vertical line over here. Just making this side a little wider than this side, just by eye. And now we're gonna see if we can make a step. So here I'm making two vanishing lines coming out from the door. So I have a little rectangle in perspective right here with four points.
Could you hold it up to the camera a little bit closer just so I could see it real fast?
Yeah, I'll hold it up because it is kind of small. Let me make two more lines and then I will bring it up there for you. Yeah, it is kind of small. All right, so what I'm doing here is I'm making a small box that is in front of the big box that is the side of the house. So you see in this one, let's see, this is the AB line right here. And then we have C and D. I'll start with C and D. You'll start, you see, this is the door we made. So somewhere down here, I'm going to decide that there'll be a step. So the bottom of the door will be the step. And I'll just go up a little way to figure out how high I want to make the step. Okay. And then from there, I will make vanishing lines going to the left. And I'll make the line for A and B. This is something you just kind of choose for yourself, where to make the front edge of the step. And then these lines will vanish all the way over to the RVP. So what it is I'm making a box in front of a box. This is the big box, and then we're going to make a little box in front of it, but it's going to be right next to the big box. So this part of the step right here is the same edge as the door. The door goes up like this, and the step is right there on the bottom. The height of the step, the height of the door, those are things you can choose for yourself. Now I'm going to finish the step, and then I'm going to let you go on a little bit by yourself so I can make sure this is up on Blackboard in time for you to post. So what we're doing is making a box next to a box next to a box. And in here, if you want to, you could think of this as the CD line. I'm not going to put the A and the B in because Well, I'll put the B. I think the A will clutter things up too much. Okay, so now I'm going to go from D all the way back to the RVP. And it's going to hit the end of the door right here. And this point, we'll call this point E. And I'm going to go from point E back to the LVP. Now I have point F. And I will go down and get that point G. And the point that's hiding inside, that will be point H. It's hiding. Now I'm going to go over this with a stronger color. I'm going to use, well, they're calling it royal blue. Let's see. This one just blue. So I'll try and use the royal here. So now I'm gonna go over the steps so that you can see it. So I'm going to go right over the vanishing lines. So here I'm going over the lines of the small box, which is here. It's the steps. Now, I'm only erasing right here to make the hidden lines a little more pale. Not something you necessarily have to do. I just think it might make it easier for you to see this, what's going on here. And I'll show you this, then I'm going to stop so I can post this. So what I did here was make a little box in front of the bigger box. It's very close up here. And you can see the hidden edges this time. And just like the other boxes, it has parallel lines going to the LVP and the RVP. And you can extend this technique if you want for your homework. You can make like another rectangle here for a window, another one here, for instance. Could put some windows over here. All they are is simple rectangles, but they have to stay in perspective. So I'll make this one due at 1:30, and then you will do one next week for next week.
So you want the stair and the door due at 1:30?
Yeah,
All right. I have a question. I glued one side of texture to the house. Can I leave it there?
yeah, you're supposed to leave it there.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, you glue your frottage to the different.
Can you show the drawing again?
Yeah, yeah, I will.
Should we color the whole boxes or just outline in color?
No, don't color it in because you're going to use your frottage for the sides of the box. Okay. Yeah, so you'll outline the visible edges, with a sharp dark color. We're not going to draw the insides of the boxes except for the step, because when you do the step, you have to do the side of the box that's touching the bigger box. You do that part first at the bottom of the door. Right. So it's just a box next to a box. But you want it to be at the bottom of the door. So you're going to start here with C and D. If you look carefully, I made them in green. We don't start here with the AB line because we're not quite sure yet where it's going to be. Okay, here's some more examples of rubbings, frottage that were created by me. So like this pebbly one, for instance, that could be good for a box. And so that you will be sure to know ahead of time. In your handouts for texture, that is week 11, you will see an image like this. It's actually a painting of glasses, drinking glasses by Janet Fish. You should see it there in color. So I would like you to print it full size on the paper in color. Now, if your printer at home, you have a printer, it works, but it doesn't have color, it is okay to print it in black and white. So it can also be printed in black and white. That's the print you're going to need for next time. And as you can see, I have the blue there. We will work on the blue paper next time. Your blue-gray paper is in the kit, might look a little different than this, but this is the blue-gray paper. It's a textured paper because it is used for a charcoal drawing. So you want to have that for next time. I asked you to bring it today, but I think we'll do that next week.
Is the homework supposed to be done on this sheet or a new sheet?
A new sheet. Your homework will be on a new sheet, and before you do your building on the new sheet of paper, you should make a little sketch, a little rough sketch with gesture lines showing like how much space you think your building is going to take up. And the more you can add, the better. You can add, like I said, you can add a garage, you could add a dog house, you could add the neighbor's house, you could make a water tower in the background, but this is an example of a sketch, just figuring out where things are going to be. Don't do any trees or roads. We will do those next time in class. So don't try to draw the trees just yet, because we have to do those together. All right. So right now it's 12 o'clock. Those of you who understand what's going on, don't have any questions, you can go now. Anybody who has a simple question or needs a one-on-one breakout room, you know, I'll be here. Here I am. But I need a minute to adjust the blackboard. What you see is different than the assignment that I decided to make for today.